I've worked tribal police for 5 years, and in that time I learned that the land remembers things better than people do. Out here in the Little Belt foothills, mile marker 19 on an old Forest Service road nobody bothers to maintain, the pines lean at impossible angles, and the wind whistles through the hills like it's trying to form a word it has forgotten. The old people call this place the place where time forgets its name. I used to laugh at that. Not anymore. The night everything started was colder than it should have been. 13th October 1998. A date that would burn itself into the back of my skull like a hot nail. The call came through dispatch at 2014. 10:59, domestic disturbance. Shots fired. The caller, merry little soldier, whispering, voice quivering so hard I could hear her teeth clicking. He's got the shotgun, please, Ethan, please, we are at the Blue Door cabin, Jonas is going to kill us. Then a scream. The line cut. I hit the siren. Rusty Red Elk would usually back me up, but he was transporting a DUI to county jail 50 miles south. So it was just me, the cold, and the dark ribbon of road to 68 winding through the trees like a vein feeding something buried deep. The cabin stood alone in a clearing, old timber walls, tin roof, front door painted a chipped cobalt blue. I'd driven past it before but never seen a vehicle there. Tonight, one truck was parked sideways, driver door open, engine still running. I killed the lights and stepped out. The screams were coming from inside. High-pitched. Children. I raised my sidearm. Jonas. Tribal police. Step out with your hands where I can see. Boom. A shotgun blast ripped through the window, spraying glass. I ducked behind the porch railing. Another scream. Fuck this. I kicked the door and went in. Mary stood against the far wall, shielding her 2 kids with her body. Jonas, little soldier, a big man, high on something, his eyes wild and unfocused, was racking another shell into an old Remington 870. He swung the barrel toward them. I fired twice before I even felt the trigger under my finger. Jonas stumbled backward, hit the dining table, then slumped sideways, the shotgun clattering to the floor. He didn't move again. I secured the scene, checked the kids, shaken but alive, then called an ambulance. Mary kept whispering, "Thank you," through sobs, clutching the children so tightly her knuckles were white. I stayed with them until paramedics arrived. 38 minutes of talking, calming, documenting everything on my body cam. I remember the smell of burnt cordite, the trembling old light bulb flickering above us, the way the boy, Elijah, kept asking if his father was sleeping. It felt real. Every second of it. But reality has seams, and sometimes those seams tear. 052, another call. I'd barely finished giving my statement when my radio chirped. Unit 4, be advised, repeat call from Little Soldier residence. Same female caller. Claims suspect returned and is attempting to burn the cabin. The dispatcher sounded confused. I felt something cold drip through my chest. That's impossible, I said. Suspect is deceased. Cabin is secured. Family en route to clinic. Well, she's saying he's got a gas can and she's trapped inside. Says the kids are unconscious. I stared at the cabin. Still there. Still smoking from gunfire but very much not on fire. But Mary's voice, urgent, terrified, was coming through the radio now. He came back. Ethan, please. He's pouring gasoline, oh God, he's lighting it, he's. Her scream tore through the speaker. I ran. I don't even remember crossing the clearing, just the slam of my boots on the dirt, my breath steaming in the cold air. But when I turned toward the cabin, there was nothing. No porch. No tin roof. No blue door. Only a bare patch of frosted earth and a circle of disturbed soil, like something had been erased. The tracks from the ambulance were gone. The truck I'd seen earlier was gone. Jonas' body, gone. My body cam, strapped to my chest, was still blinking red. Recording. I felt the kind of fear you don't feel in your gut, but in your bones. I backed away. Called dispatch. Voice shaking. Are you sure the call is coming from this location? GPS ping is exact, dispatch said. Caller's identifying herself as Merry Little Soldier again. Line cut out mid-scream. It can't be her. I put her in an ambulance 40 minutes ago. Silence. Unit 4, do you need backup? But what would backup even do against nothing? The file nobody wanted to touch. The next morning, I returned with Rusty. He looked at me the way a man does when he's checking whether you are drunk, concussed, or cursed. Ethan, buddy, there's nothing here. He kicked at the dirt. No foundation. No rubble. No scorch marks. You sure you didn't respond to a different mile marker? I played the footage from my body cam. There we were, Jonas, the gun, the blue door. Me firing. The kids screaming. 38 minutes of recorded reality. Rusty watched the screen, fists tightening. This isn't possible, he muttered. But I believe you. He swallowed hard. My grandfather used to talk about this place. Said it eats years. That phrase lodged in my skull. At the station, Rusty pulled a dusty folder from the archives. Little Soldier, House Fire 1977. Whole family died, he said. Burned alive. Cabin door was blue then too. October 13. I felt my stomach drop. 1977? That's 21 years ago. He nodded grimly. And the wife's name was Mary. I stared at the photo stapled inside. Same woman. Same kids. Same cabin. Except the picture was charred. And the bodies. God. You never get used to seeing what fire does to a family. But she was alive. My voice cracked. She held my hand. Rusty closed the folder. Then the land played a trick on you, he said quietly. A cruel one. A loop reveals itself. 1998 turned into 1999, and people started calling me Jumpy. I didn't sleep much. Rusty kept checking in on me, bringing bad coffee and worse jokes. Then came the next 13th October. Another cabin. Same clearing. Same blue door. I didn't want to go in. I could feel something shifting in the air, like the world was holding its breath. But the screams inside, child screams, forced my hand. Inside was a father from the Crow Ghost family, year 1966, holding a carving knife to his daughter's throat. His face was pale, eyes empty, as if he'd been drained of everything human. I shot him to save her. But she didn't even look at me, just flickered like a dying projector slide, then vanished. Both of them vanished. The blood on the floor remained warm. 1 year later, 1999, the scream belonged to a boy from 1954, crawling across the floor while his mother's head rolled toward me, neck hacked open by an axe. The killer, his own father, came at me, swinging wildly. I shot him too. The bodies dissolved like ash in a gust of wind. But the blood stayed. Always the blood stayed. Every time I walked out, the cabin would fade, leaving only disturbed soil behind. I began to understand. Every time I fired my weapon, the loop grew stronger, fed by the violence I brought with me. Rusty was the only one who believed me. He saw the footage. He saw the blood. He heard the voices caught on the tape. This ain't hauntings, he said. Hauntings don't bleed. This is a time wound. Something cracked the land open. He wasn't wrong. But I wouldn't understand the truth until I met myself. The night I saw the future. 13th October 2000. The cabin looked different this time, newer, like a modern family home. Fresh siding. Modern windows. A blue front door that looked recently painted. I stepped inside and froze. I knew that living room. I'd designed it. Sarah stood in the center, my wife, younger but exhausted, holding two boys. One maybe 11. One younger. Their eyes were black, pupils dissolved in inky voids. Their mouths moved in perfect unison. The house is hungry again. A shape stepped from the hallway. Me. Older. Hair graying. Eyes cracked with sleepless years. Same badge on his chest. He pressed something into my hand. A bodycam tape. His fingers trembled. Don't build the house, he whispered. Not here. Not in 2024. You'll damn them all. Then the walls began to bulge, flesh-colored hands pushing through the plaster, fingers clawing, tearing. The children screamed, voices doubling into something inhuman. My future self shoved me backward, toward the door. Get out. They're already dead in my time. But you can still stop it. I stumbled outside. The cabin dissolved behind me in a burst of dust. The tape in my hand felt warm. Like it was breathing. I watched it later that night. I wish I hadn't. It showed my home, my future home, butchered from the inside. Hands ripping through drywall, grabbing Sarah, tearing her apart. My children, my sons, mangled, then dragged screaming into a hole in the floor that wasn't there before. And over all of it, a purple light pulsing like a heartbeat. I vomited twice before the tape ended. Rusty held my shoulders while I shook. What the hell is happening? I whispered. Rusty stared toward the mountains. Something underground, he said. Something old. And that was the beginning of the end. Time doesn't heal wounds out here. It hides them, packs them under dirt, under frozen pines, under the silence of a land that doesn't forget. But a hidden wound can still kill you once it festers enough. After the night I met my future self and watched my family die on that cursed tape, every part of me wanted to burn the entire ridge down. But anger doesn't navigate truth. Fear does. Fear sharpens the senses. And what I feared most was this. Something underground was waking up. 2001 digging into the wound. Raymond Caldwell, my uncle, wasn't the type to scare easily. As a tribal geologist, he knew every rock formation, every mineral, every strange electromagnetic burp in the reservation's crust. When I showed him the tape, he didn't look shocked. He looked resigned. I was hoping it wasn't this, he finally murmured. You knew something was wrong at mile marker 19? Ethan, he rubbed his face, my department has been registering anomalies there since the 40s. But the council didn't want a panic. And no one could connect it to anything physical, until you brought me this. He paused the video on the frame showing the purple glow coming from the hole in future Ethan's living room floor. That color doesn't exist in natural luminescence. It's infraspectral radiation forced into visible wavelengths. Something below ground is distorting time and light. I swallowed. Distorting time, meaning the loops. Raymond nodded once. What we are dealing with isn't a haunting, Ethan. It's geological. Something old. A core. The way he said core made my skin crawl. We brought Rusty in, he insisted, and I trusted him with my life. His face hardened as Raymond laid out maps, seismograph readings, magnetic distortion charts. So this thing underground is hungry? Rusty asked. Raymond didn't laugh. Hungry isn't the right word. The land under that ridge is cracked in a way physics shouldn't allow. That crystal, if it's what I think, feeds on stored moments. It collapses years into each other. That's why the murders reappear for you. So how do we kill it? Rusty asked. Raymond hesitated. Crystals that can distort time also regenerate. And they react violently to stress. But if we can shatter it deeply enough, the fracture might stay dormant. Dormant? I snapped. Not destroyed. It's the best the science allows, Ethan. I felt the world tilt. If we only made it sleep, then someday, somewhere, it would wake again. But I didn't care anymore. Victory didn't matter. I wanted the loop to stop. Even if it cost the land another scar. Drilling the first hole. We formed a small crew, just us 3 and 4 mining engineers from the Tribal Resource Office. We didn't tell the council the whole story, they wouldn't believe it anyway. We simply said we were investigating seismic instability. By 13th October 2001, we had drilled a shaft down 180 feet into the ridge's bedrock. The closer we got, the stranger things became. The drill bits vibrated with inconsistent rhythm, like they were striking something alive. The lights in the tunnel flickered even with portable generators. The air tasted metallic, electric. Every so often, the radios would pick up voices of people long dead. At 178 feet, the drill hit something that rang. Not like metal. Like glass under tension. Raymond crouched beside the borehole, lowering a probe with a microcamera. He froze. "It's black," he whispered. Not absorbing light. Devouring it. The rest of us crowded around the monitor. What we saw was a crystalline mass, pitch black, but threaded with faint purple veins pulsing like arteries. The closer the camera moved, the more violently it shook. The feed distorted. Something like a long, low moan vibrated through the rock. Rusty stepped back. "That's not geological." Raymond's voice cracked. "No. It's not." That night, we rigged 800 kilograms of ANFO in the shaft. I kept thinking about my future self, his trembling hands, the desperation in his eyes. If this didn't work, the loop wouldn't stop. My sons I hadn't even met yet, would die horribly because of where I'd chosen to build a home. So I wired the detonator myself. Wine screamed between the pines as the clock hit 11:59 p.m. I looked at Rusty. He nodded. I pressed the trigger. The ground convulsed like a living thing. The boom rolled through the valley like thunder trapped underground. Birds exploded from the treetops. Rock stumbled. A massive portion of the ridge collapsed inward, swallowing itself into a newborn crater 60 meters wide. When the dust cleared, the tunnel was gone. The core chamber had caved in. Silence fell across Black Ridge. A silence deeper than anything I'd ever known. And for the first time since that first blue door in 1998. The world felt whole again. 2002 to 2008 were the years without a loop. It's strange how peace feels when you've lived too long with fear. It feels fake. Temporary. Stolen. But the loop stopped. Not a single 13th October had a cabin, or a scream, or a blue door. The clearing at mile marker 19 became nothing but a hole filled with gravel and broken limestone. Rusty retired in 2004, bought a small place near the river. I visited him often. He'd sit on the porch, drinking black coffee and scanning the ridgeline like he expected it to grow teeth any day. "Don't trust quiet things," he'd say. "A rattlesnake rattles. A loaded gun clicks. But the things that kill you slow, they don't make a sound." Sarah and I struggled through the fallout. I wouldn't talk to her about the cabin nights. She thought it was PTSD. Maybe part of it was. By 2007, we almost divorced. But she anchored me, nursed the part of me the loops had hollowed out. A few times, I woke up gasping at 3:17 a.m., certain someone was standing in our bedroom. But no blue door appeared. No past families crawled through time to reach me. It was over, I told myself. It had to be. 2009 to 2013 Raymond's warning. Raymond didn't share my optimism. Every year, he'd test the soil conductivity at the crater. The readings were stable. Until they weren't. In 2011, the magnetic flux spiked for a full minute before settling again. In 2012, seismographs recorded a faint hum, like a subsonic groan. By 2013, he came to my house after dark, face pale. "The fracture's shifting," he said. "It's trying to knit itself back." I tried to ignore the icy hand wrapping around my spine. "What do we do?" "Nothing yet. The core's shattered. It's regrowing slowly. Like a wound scabbing over." He hesitated. "But when the scab breaks, it'll open wider." I didn't sleep that night. Sarah found me sitting at the kitchen table at dawn, staring at the wall as if expecting it to crack open. She touched my shoulder gently. "Are you sick, Ethan?" "Yes." "Sick with dread?" But I lied. "No. Just tired." 2014 to 2017, the quiet begins to bend. Strange things started happening around the reservation. Small at first. Animals avoiding the ridge altogether. Digital clocks glitching, skipping seconds. Security comes at the clinic showing patients walking past twice in the same frame. Then the bigger things. A hunter reported seeing a cabin door, blue, weathered, standing alone in the forest, no walls attached. When he approached, it blinked out like static. A teenager camping near the ridge vanished for 3 hours. When found, he kept repeating, "I came home twice." And once, in the grocery store, I caught a glimpse of myself, older, gaunt, staring at me from the reflection in the freezer glass. When I blinked, the image was gone. I tried to tell myself it was exhaustion. Old trauma. Hallucinations. But deep down, I knew. The scab was breaking. 13th October 2018, the boy who shouldn't exist. The day started like any other. Cold wind. Thin sunlight. Coffee gone stale too fast. At 10:43 a.m., a boy walked into the tribal police station. 11 years old. Dark hair. Freckles. Eyes like mine. Exactly like mine. He looked up at me without fear. "Hi, Dad." My heartbeat stopped. "Kid, what did you just call me?" "You are Ethan Caldwell," he said calmly. "Born in 1964. Tribal police. You destroyed the core in 2001. You were supposed to stop building the house in 2024, but you didn't. So everything collapsed in my timeline." I felt the room tilt sideways. "What's your name?" My voice barely worked. "No." The boy smiled sadly. "I'm your son. The one from the timeline you erased." He reached into his backpack and pulled out a phone, older model, scratched. He handed it to me. "There's a video on here. From 2031. I need you to watch it." My hands trembled as I tapped play. The screen filled with purple light. A column of it, hundreds of feet tall, ripped through the center of Black Ridge. Houses folded inward like crushed cans. People were sucked screaming into spirals of warp time, dying, reviving, dying again. Noah appeared on screen, older, terrified, running. "This is the future if we don't finish destroying the core," he said in the video. "Dad, if you're watching this, help me. Help all of us." The footage ended with a shriek of static. I stood there frozen, phone sweating in my palm. No, the real, physical boy in front of me looked up. "The core didn't die," he whispered. "You only broke it. Now it's regrowing deeper. And tonight, it's going to open fully." I forced myself to breathe. "How deep?" 420 feet. I closed my eyes. The quiet years hadn't been peace. They'd been incubation. And now the wound was tearing open. Tonight, at mile marker 19, we would go down into the earth one last time. And only one of us, maybe none of us, would come back. The sky turned purple before sundown. Not fully, just a tint, a bruise forming in the clouds over Black Ridge as if the heavens were warning us of the wound reopening beneath the earth. The animals felt it before we did. Ravens abandoned the trees. Coyotes bolted west. Even the stubborn, half-starved reservation dogs hid under porches and whimpered at shadows we couldn't see. I stood at the edge of the crater we'd made back in 2001, the place where Rusty, Raymond, and I dropped 800 kilograms of ANFO like desperate men throwing dynamite at God. 17 years. 17 years of relative silence. Now the silence had a pulse. A faint hum trembled under my boots, like something breathing. Noah stood beside me, hands jammed in the pockets of his oversized jacket. He was small, thin, but his eyes carried a weight far older than 11. He had seen a future where our world folded in on itself. A future where time became an animal and ripped the reservation apart. "Dad," he whispered, without looking up. "It's almost time." I swallowed hard. I didn't correct him this time. He was my son, if not from this timeline, then from another I had unknowingly murdered. And tonight, I would lose him again. Descent, 19:12 p.m. We had 6 people. Me. No. Uncle Raymond. 4 tribal mining engineers, Hodges, Miller, Yazzie, and Clark. All armed. All shaking. We set up at the old shaft, now expanded into a proper tunnel mouth the engineers had reinforced with steel ribs and new lighting. The deeper we walked, the more my sense of time began to distort. My thoughts felt like echoes. My heartbeat doubled, staggered, corrected itself. At 260 feet, our radios crackled with static. At 300, the lights dimmed. At 350, the air grew warm, too warm for underground Montana. By 420 feet, the tunnel ended in a blast door we'd welded last month when we first detected new readings. A door meant to keep something out. Or keep something in. Noah stepped forward. "It's awake." Raymond gulped. "Stand back, everyone." Once we breach this, the room may not follow the same physics as the tunnel. He cut the welds. The door fell inward with a clang. What lay beyond wasn't a room. It was a chamber of living night. The core, 420 feet underground. Imagine a sphere the size of a house. Now imagine it made of obsidian, except veined with glowing, pulsating purple filaments, like arteries pumping not blood, but memories. The core wasn't floating, but it wasn't resting on anything either. The air rippled around it, distorting the walls of the chamber like heat above desert asphalt. Each pulse sent a low groan through the rock, shaking dust from the ceiling. Clark whispered, "Jesus Christ." But God had no jurisdiction here. Raymond checked his instruments. They were useless, needles spinning, screens flickering between years. "I've never seen readings like this," he said. "It's reconstructing itself faster than we thought." Noah stepped closer. "It's hungry." "Hungry for what?" I asked. He turned, and in the dim light, his eyes looked older, like the eyes of the boy from the phone video. "For moments. For lives. Every death it touches becomes fuel. Every wound it copies becomes a crack in the world." He pointed behind us. I turned. And nearly screamed. The ghost families. The chamber walls flickered like malfunctioning film projectors. Shadows stepped out. Herland family 1954. The father with his axe, skull cracked open. The mother crawling without legs. Their children whispering through slit throats. Crow ghost family 1966. The father dragging the knife that slit his daughter's throat. The girl holding the wound together with spectral hands. Little soldier family 1977. Burned, melting, still screaming without lungs. Mary reaching toward me, the charred outline of her children behind her. More and more shapes crawled from the fissures in time. The voices twisted together in a chorus of agony. Raymond backed against the rock. Oh God, oh God. Hodges panicked and fired his rifle. The bullet passed through a ghost boy and ricocheted off stone. The apparition didn't react. It simply stared, eyes wet with black liquid. No grabbed my hand tightly. They're not here to kill us. They're here because the core is using them. Their deaths keep the loop alive. I felt my throat close. All those nights I thought I saved them. You didn't, No whispered. You fed it. For the first time, I understood the truth. The loop wasn't haunting us. It was harvesting us. And tonight, it wanted a feast. The crawler hands. The chamber walls bulged. Cracks formed in the rock, long fissures filled with purple glow. And from those cracks, hands pushed through. Hundreds. Small hands. Big hands. Skeletal hands. Burned hands. Grey hands dripping tar like ichor. They clawed blindly, seeking flesh, seeking heat, seeking life. Miller screamed as a hand grabbed his leg and yanked him off his feet. I fired at the wrist, useless. The bullet slowed like it hit water. Fall back. Raymond shouted. But there was no place to fall back to. The walls had sealed with shimmering light. Time itself had begun to contract. The core pulsed faster now, veins glowing bright. Every pulse made the ghost families jerk like puppets. Then No shouted. Start planting charges. We have to blow it now. We scattered. Clark, Yazzie, and Raymond slapped shaped charges onto the chamber floor, calibrating them with trembling fingers. I loaded the detonators. The voices of dead families whispered at my back. The core trembled. The ghosts shrieked. The hands grew longer, reaching. One grabbed No's jacket and wrenched him backward. No! I lunged, grabbing him. The force almost tore my arm from its socket. The hand wasn't trying to kill him. It was trying to pull him into the core. No's voice cracked. Dad, let go. You have to let go. Not again. I screamed. I won't lose you again. Listen to me, he shouted, tears streaming. I'm a paradox. I'm not supposed to exist. That's why the core wants me. It's the strongest energy source. I carry the memory of a timeline that never happened. If you hold on to me, we all die. His body was halfway absorbed already, his legs vanishing into flickering purple. No! Please! He smiled, a small, sad smile. You'll still have a version of me. In another possibility. But this version has to go. He pressed something into my hand. A small, blue-painted wooden chip. From the first door, he whispered. So you never forget. Then he screamed. Blow it, Dad. Now. I slammed the detonator. The implosion. Light exploded outward, then inward. Sound inverted. The chamber collapsed through itself, folding like paper sucked into a vacuum. The core screamed, a shriek like a star dying. The ghosts were sucked into the imploding mass, tearing apart into dust. The hands withdrew, stretching into thin strands before disintegrating. No was pulled last. His voice echoed across every frequency of my radio, every corner of my skull. I love you, Dad. Then, silence. A silence deeper than 2001. A silence that felt final. Aftermath 4:20 a.m. We emerged from the tunnel half blind, half deaf, covered in dust. Only 3 of us made it. Raymond. Yazzie. Me. The others had been taken by the hands before the implosion. The sky above was clear. No purple tint. No ripple in time. Just the stars. Cold. Silent. The crater at mile marker 19 had grown, now a gaping hole the size of a football field. The land sagged inward as if relieved to finally let go. It was over. Truly over. And Noah was gone again. Except this time, no second chance. No alternate timeline to bring him back. I collapsed to my knees and cried into the dirt. Years later, epilogue. Sarah and I never had children. We chose not to, perhaps some part of us sensed the risk. Instead, we adopted 2 kids from the reservation. Gave them a home. Gave ourselves something to live for. I named the older boy Noah. He never understood why. Neither did Sarah. Some things I kept buried deeper than the core itself. Some wounds are too large to speak aloud. But every year, on 13th October, I drive alone to mile marker 19. The crater is filled now, covered in gravel and grass. Just a hollow in the world where something monstrous once breathed.